Good morning everyone and welcome back to the Oggie Bakehouse. Today is the first of our new series of recipes, or the new season of recipes probably is a better description. And we are going to make a pumpkin pie. It's quite an involved recipe, but only because it has to be done in stages. So it's going to be a bit of a fade in, fade out, and we'll get there in the end. So hopefully you should be able to follow it and do your own bits and pieces as well. First off, obviously we need pumpkins. And I think if you watched our other vlog the other day about the possibility of pumpkin pie, we showed you these pumpkins. They may look like your normal everyday pumpkin, but they're not. These are not carving pumpkins, they are cooking pumpkins. And they actually do say on them cooking pumpkins. I think, I could be wrong, but I do think that in America they're called sugar pumpkins for some reason. So first things first, lots of people prepare their pumpkin in different ways. I am going to roast ours. A lot of people steam them, or they put them in the microwave, or they even boil them. But to my mind, if you're going to put water into something which is already quite watery, you're going to end up with sloppy, and I don't want sloppy. So I'm going to roast them. That way I'm not adding any water, they're just cooking in their own natural things. So the most difficult thing I think is going to be cutting these in half, because you literally just need to split them in half. So let's see what we can do. I may need to ask John for help. I may need to come back. Yeah, take that as I need to come back. So, welcome back. We managed to split the pumpkins. Apparently, the one thing to not do is to try and go through the stalk, because the stalk is impossible to cut through. So once I avoided the stalk, they were actually reasonably easy to chop. The only problem with that is now, as you can see, I've got a big end and a little end. But because they're being roasted, it really doesn't make that much difference. So the next thing to do now is to scoop out all the seeds and the middle bits. If you like pumpkin seeds, obviously save them and roast them with a little bit of salt or something like that. We're not mad keen on pumpkin seeds, so I think we're just probably going to discard ours, to be quite frank. So I'm just going to do that and then we'll be back. Okay, so welcome back again. So we've now scraped out our pumpkins and got all of the seeds and everything out, and it's time to get them onto a baking sheet and get them in the oven. You're going to roast them in the oven for probably 50 minutes to an hour, 40-50 minutes. Obviously you're going to have to check them, because the smaller bits are going to cook a bit faster than the bigger bits. All we need to do is spray a little bit of oil on the cut side. I'm going to use Frylight, other brands are available. This is just a buttery one. You can just paint it with cooking oil if you want. One of the recipes I did read said that if you are using it for a sweet recipe, it's quite nice to use coconut oil on it. It's just to help the sides to sort of caramelize a bit and get a bit sweeter. And if you're not using it for a sweet recipe, then obviously any other sort of nutty butters or oils or whatever will do. But we're just going to go for a bit of Frylight for ease. So you put them face down, as such. Like that. There we go. And then what you need to do is you need to take a knife and you need to pierce the skin, but quite like all over, not just one or two. So you don't need to go right through, but you do need to pierce the skin. I think it helps with cooking. Also really good if you've got an aggression issue that you want to take out. please be careful because the skins are incredibly difficult and thick. But I don't want any of you getting hurt for trying to make a pumpkin pie.
I am filming, but I'm seriously not watching.
Why?
I just keep thinking A&E is coming very soon.
John, my dear, I am 50 years old. I have never yet been to A&E with a cooking-related injury. I do know what I'm doing with my knives. Right, so they're all stabbed up and they're going in the oven at 170 degrees, fan oven, maybe 180 depending on how hot your oven is. Ours burns quite hot, so 170 for us, for between 40 and 60 minutes. So we'll be back when it's done. Okay, so we're back. The pumpkin has been in now for a good 50 minutes to an hour, I'd say. So I'm going to get it out and check it. I'm just a bit concerned about the bigger bits. I can see that the smaller bits are definitely done, but I just need to check the bigger bits. So I'll just grab it out of the oven and we'll see. So there is some liquid in the bottom of the tin, and I know that the other one I put on a baking sheet. Luckily it had a lip, but bear that in mind when you put yours in. If you're going to roast it, make sure you've got a fairly deep roasting tin or baking sheet just in case. So let's turn it over. Oh, okay, so it's obviously done because you can see that the skin just folds. Yeah, lovely and soft. Try the big bit. Whew, steam. Yeah, lovely. We are going to let this cool now until it's cool enough for me to handle. And then we're going to try and pass ours through a sieve, because the thing with pumpkin is it is quite fibrous. So you can actually put it in a food processor and really blitz it. And I have a lovely food processor, but I have no idea how to use it. So we're going to go old school and we're going to pass it through a sieve until...
She has a massive food processor, KitchenAid, very expensive. Can't use it.
I haven't read the instructions yet. It's like a book. So, yeah, okay, I fess up. I need to read the instructions so that I can work my food processor. In the meantime, I've got a bog standard nylon sieve that I will pass this pumpkin through. Come back in a minute. Okay, so when my pumpkin was cooking, I got my pastry and rolled it. It's short crust pastry. I'm going to fess up. It's a shop bought short crust pastry today. I really didn't feel like making my own, and I never had any in the freezer. So I just bought an ordinary short crust pastry block from the supermarket, and I've rolled it out and I've put it into my pie dish. So I'm just going to trim the edges, and I've already pricked the bottom of the case, if you like, filled it with parchment and foil and a load of baking beans. So I'm just going to trim it, and then I've put the oven up to 200 degrees and we're going to blind bake it for 10 to 12 minutes. Before we obviously add the filling, so it'll be hopefully nice and crispy. So I'm just going to trim this off. If you want to make your own pastry, we have made pastry on the channel before. It's a very simple, easy pastry recipe. So John will add a link or something in here and you can go back and find it if you want to make your own. The other thing the recipe says is to put a fork around your edges so that it looks kind of pretty, I suppose, but that's not essential. There we go. So that's going in the oven now for 10 to 12 minutes just to bake. So we as a family have never had pumpkin pie before, and obviously pumpkin is basically a vegetable. So we're not really sure how this is going to taste, and I think the children in particular are expecting something quite sweet. So what I did was I found a recipe which has got a bit of a variation than the normal bog standard pumpkin pie, in as much as it involves raisins and also vanilla extract, not essence. So we're going to add those extras in, and hopefully that will sweeten it up and make it a bit more UK, I guess. That's really awful to say, but a bit more like fruit pies that we get in the UK, as opposed to the traditional pumpkin pie that the USA are used to. So we'll see where it goes. So here we go with the full ingredients list. You are going to need 450 grams of pumpkin. Obviously, we've already done our pumpkins. Then you are going to need either a block of short crust pastry or pastry that you're going to make yourself. Whatever recipe you prefer for that. There is a recipe with the pie, but short crust pastry is short crust pastry. You do you. That's easier. Then for the filling, we need an egg, medium, 125 grams of milk, 100 grams of golden caster sugar or any other caster sugar what you may happen to have, half a teaspoon, level teaspoon of ground ginger and ground cinnamon, 6 tablespoons of raisins, which amount to about 100 grams, and half a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and that's it. Okay, so we have now pushed our pumpkin through a sieve. The ingredients originally called for 450 grams of pumpkin flesh, but that was raw weight. When we weighed the amount of pumpkin that we have left, we have a whole kilo of pumpkin, but we also have a very deep pie dish. So what we have decided to do is to double up on our ingredients, and hopefully we'll have enough we'll have plenty of ingredients to fill our dish. If you're using a pie plate, as is tradition, then obviously you're only going to need 450 grams. So the other thing that I think I may have said at the beginning was when I was speaking about vanilla, I may have said tablespoon, and I didn't mean tablespoon. It's a half a teaspoon is the original amount, but obviously we're going to use a whole teaspoon. The one thing about pumpkin is if you do end up with a larger pumpkin and you end up with more pumpkin flesh than you actually need, once you've cooked it and dealt with it, however you're going to do it, whether you put it in a food processor or whether you do what we did, it will keep quite happily in the fridge for a good week. And if you're not going to want another pumpkin pie within the week, then you can freeze it for a month, 2 months with no problem at all. So that's that. So next we're going to put everything together. We've blind baked our pie case. We're just going to put it all together now and hopefully get it into the oven. We obviously realise that ours is now going to take longer to cook than yours will. So, you know, this is all going to be a bit bear with, if you like. So what we need to do now is we need to, in a large dish or mixing basin, beat your egg Obviously I'm using 2 now. And then with that, you put in your sugar. Your spices. The milk. And a teaspoon, or half a teaspoon for you, of vanilla. Give that a good whip up. Sorry if that sounds really loud, but I'm sure John will turn it down. We're just trying these new little wireless microphone thingamajiggies. Once that's sort of whipped up, nothing spectacular there, you add in your raisins. And then your pumpkin flesh. Give it a nice mix up. And it is sort of like a big yellowy, brownish, custardy thing. But the brown is only from the spices, so nothing to worry about. That's that. I don't know if you can see that without me spilling it all over the table. And now the next thing is to put it into the pie case. Now obviously you could just pour it, but because I've got double the amount, I'm not sure how much is going to go in or not, and I want to make sure that I've got a nice lot of raisins in, so I'm actually going to spoon the majority of ours in. Otherwise, you're going to end up with all pumpkin and all your raisins will be at the bottom. I think that's enough. So, as you can see, that actually took nearly the whole amount of our ingredients. There's just a small amount left. So, okay, so your oven temperature needs to be 200 degrees initially, and you put your pie in for 20 minutes. Then you turn it down to 180 degrees or gas mark 4, and you bake it for another 15 to 25 minutes, depending obviously how deep your pie dish is or whatever. Ours is really going to be a play it by ear, so we will come back when we've managed to cook this bad boy. I'll see you in a minute. Hi everybody and welcome back. It is now nearly 5:30. The pie's out of the oven and it's warm, but it's cooled off significantly. Ours took about 1 hour and 20 minutes because obviously, as I said, it's quite a deep pan or deep pan pie, whatever you want to call it. And if you look, you will notice that I've got a dirty, great big crack right across the middle, which apparently says that I've overcooked it. But I would rather have it overcooked than undercooked and slimy. So I managed to get it out in one out of my pie plate, dish, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to cut it. So let's see how we go. Pastry is lovely and crisp, as you can hear. And there we have it. It's still a little bit soft right in the very centre, as you can see. But I think that is most probably due to the fact that it's still quite warm and the raisins in there have really puffed up. So it's possibly due to the juice in the raisins as well. So I'll grab a fork and we'll have a quick taste. It's different. I'm not 100% if I like it. It's very smooth. There's no fibrous stuff in it at all. John, would you like a little taste?
I will do. I'll take headphones off a minute. Now, they do say that you're supposed to sprinkle ice and sugar
on, yeah.
And you can also have it with cream and ice cream, which probably would work. It's very soft at the moment. Probably better when it's cold.
Possibly.
But
it's definitely cooked.
There's definitely a hint of cinnamon. There's definitely a hint of ginger. Like I said, it's just an unusual texture. It's very soft.
Yeah. But then as far as I understand, it's supposed to be very soft.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look in there, basically what you can see...
It's almost mousse.
...is sultana, raisins rather. So I think the raisins have got an issue.
I think they really work, actually.
I think that I wouldn't have liked it at all without the raisins. I think they add a sweetness to it.
I think pumpkin pie is an acquired taste. It always has been. And, I will be honest, there is a difference in taste that Americans like and British people like. There's a big thing about British chocolate and American chocolate tasting very different.
Yeah.
So, I can understand that. I think the cream would be quite nice. Like I said, I think the raisins make it.
I'm glad I did the adjusted recipe with raisins and vanilla in.
I'm going to go around back.
Let me know. Make one yourself. Let me know what you think. I'm glad I made it. It was an experience. Would I make another one? Right at this particular point, probably not.
I think we want to see it cold.
But we also know that you don't necessarily have to use pumpkin. If you can't get a decent pumpkin, you can use butternut squash, which might be better. It might be a bit sweeter.
I have to move closer because you're only on one mic. But yeah, I think butternut squash would be sweeter because you know that when you roast butternut squash, it's incredibly sweet.
So butternut squash might be a bit better. It says you can also use marrow.
That would be very strange.
But with marrow, you have to be very careful because marrow is incredibly watery.
So it's going to be really wet. And this is wet enough now.
Yeah, you really need to sort of lose as much water as you can out of the marrow. So
personally, I'm intrigued to see what it's like when it's not warm. Because I think anything custard-like when it's warm is still kind of fragile. Needs to set solid.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to see, that's exactly what I was going to say, to see what it was like if you brought it out of the fridge.
Yeah.
I think it probably would be better cold.
Yeah.
With some nice whipped cream on it.
Yeah. I'm still going to eat a few more slices of it, but I'm going to wait for it to go cold.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
Very interesting.
an experience.
Yeah, give it a try. It's worth trying. A lot of people will like it, a lot of people won't like it, and that's
Exactly.
just the same as Marmite or anything else.
Absolutely. So give it a go and let us know what you think. And that's about it now. So have a lovely day. What's left of it? It's been a busy one here, but hey, it's worth it. See you all again soon, guys. Bye for now.